Okay, this is our video demonstration of the Denton DV502A modified, I'm going to call it. As you can see, we have our compressor, which is a CTI Cryogenics SC. It's got approximately 35,000 hours. And I have replaced the absorber inside here. So you got a new absorber. I put the date of installation on it. I'm going to point out a few things here too. This whole panel down here is not being used, other than the indicator light to tell you that you're at atmospheric pressure and you can go ahead and open the door. Right now I have the interlocks jumped. And as you can see, there's no wires on the meter or any of the switches here, or the pot. So, that being said, it's being modified, and it's using the Infocon XTC2. And then you have your power supply here, which is a Sorensen DSC 600-17E. And I just want to point out here, this SD light is indicating that the water flow or one of the interlocks is not being satisfied, and it will not allow power to your cathode up here. So right now I did an auto pump down last night, and when I came in this morning you can see that our base pressure is at approximately 1.5 times 10 to the minus 7. I just want to say too, you do have a capacitive manometer, the Infocon CDG, and here's the readout here. It's basically just a readout, none of the triggers are being used in this case. You also have a mass flow controller here, and that's for your gas flow in. Going around the back here, this is your mass flow controller and your valve to mass flow controller here, and your valve to open the gas in. You do have two additional gas inlet ports here if necessary, just manual use here. This is your Proteus switch, and the requirement is to keep the cathode cool. As you can see, the water line's coming in. The requirement is 1 gallon per minute. And in order to get 1 gallon per minute through this 1/4 inch line, you see you have a water inlet here with a gauge. You need roughly 60 psi on that. So looking at the other utilities here, you have an in and out for your water. Water in, water out. Compressed air in, approximately 60 to 80 psi. You do have an N2 in for venting both your cryo as well as your chamber. Looking in the back here too, you have two cold cathode gauges, one below the gate valve, high vacuum gate valve, and then one above it, reading the chamber. And you also got two thermocouples, one on the 4 line here. Another one inside, you can see it, there's also a convecton gauge that you use to do the auto pump down. Okay, this is your vacuum pump port. You see the hose leading up to your Varian vacuum pump here. This pump has been rebuilt. You have your 2 connections for your cryo pump. The regeneration is done manually. It'll go ahead and open this, shut the cryo down, and go ahead and open this valve here, and that'll allow your nitrogen feed in to warm up your cryo. Your mechanical pump is connected here. It's 208 15 amp, and then your compressor is connected here. So when you turn on the switches on the front panel, for mech pump or a cryo, it'll enable these outlets. Your power coming in is 208 So we got two phases. It has a ground and a neutral, so the white line is neutral. And then you have your ground. And one other thing to point out, we'll send the handheld operator here. If you want to go ahead and control the power of your XTC, you plug it in right here. Okay, I went ahead and took the front panel off, and I will supply the back panel too, and I'll make sure that all the interlocks, so I'll cut the jumpers on the interlocks here and reconnect the ones for the top panel and the back panel, make sure they're all working. As you can see, our cryo is down at 15 Kelvin. This is our PLC right here, for auto pump down, auto vent, and this does have an auto process. So I'm going to demonstrate that. In manual mode, all these switches are enabled. Here's your neck pump on and your cryo pump on. It does have a rotary table. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead. Now you have a our chiller here is thermal scientific chiller. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and we'll see that the interlock will go on the power supply. You see the DSSD light is off. You do have a auto mode here. The gas operates, but the shutter doesn't in auto mode. So what I'm going to do here, I just want to point out too, I do have a tank of argon hooked up and coming into the mass flow controller. Your Proteus is spinning. Now one thing to point out, in auto vent mode, auto process mode, a few things happen. Is the gauge, chamber gauge will turn on automatically, as well as the rotary at specific points of the program. There is a crossover. I'm going to go ahead and shut this off, and this can be turned off. I want to make sure that both of these are in chamber mode. I'll go ahead and switch it over to auto process. From this point, typically it'll take about 20 to 30 minutes to pump down to a crossover, which is set at approximately 8 times 10 to the minus 7. As well as after the process is done, it'll wait till it pumps down to 8 times 10 to the minus 7, then it'll go ahead and vent the chamber. So the auto process is you basically, let me just bring this back to auto vent. We'll go ahead and vent the chamber. We'll take a look at that, and then I'll go ahead and run the auto process. Okay, so we're venting the chamber. When this is at atmosphere, we'll see that the open door when lit light will come on, and I'll go ahead and open it. And this will take a few minutes, so I'll come back. Okay, just a few things to point out here. We vented the chamber. Our open door when lit is on. You can see our capacitive manometer high end is 100 millitorr, and we do have our safety interlock on. So let's go ahead and open the chamber. Take a look at our cathode here. I put aluminum here to protect it. Underneath here, you can see your rotary table. I'll go ahead and manually turn that on. Well, it is on. I'll go ahead and increase the speed so you can see that your table does rotate. And we'll set the rotation speed for when it turns on automatically. Okay, we'll put that to off. We're going to go ahead and put this switch to manual here. And we can open our shutter and you can look at our target. That's the silver target we're using in here. Put this to close. We'll switch this to auto. Again, you see the interlock comes on. And again, we got the rotary table off. It's in chamber mode. Chamber here, and the switch is off. At this point, we can go ahead and hit auto process. Get a roughing valve open. It's going to pump down to 150 millitorque and then go ahead and do its crossover to high vac. So I'll come back when we're getting close. Well, you can see we just went past 200 millitorque and we're waiting for the crossover to high vac. Okay, so now the high vac valve opens. As you can see, the chamber cold cathode gauge turned on automatically. Now here's where I'm talking about the set point. I'm not sure where it's set, but after running this a few times, I realized that at 8 times 10 to the minus 7 roughly, it's going to switch over and go ahead and turn on your argon gas and continue on with the auto process. At that time too, it will turn on your rotary table. So again, this may take anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes depending on how long the chamber was open and what you vent it with. What gas, I just use air for now. So we'll come back in 20 minutes and take a look at the crossover and the continuation of the process. Alright, we're almost at the crossover point of 8 times 10 to the minus 7. Take a quick look at the XTC2 program. I went to program mode here, rise time set for 5 seconds, soak with 2% power, soak time of 5 seconds. And for rise 2, we have 5 seconds. We'll bring it up to 4% power. We'll soak there for 5 seconds. No shutter delay. Right now I have the pull factor set at 100%. Separator 3. Final thickness is 1 kA. Just want to point out that we did hit the crossover, so right now the gas is turned on. Let's go to reset here, and we'll hit the 0. We have the plasma lit, shutter open. And we're depositing at 3 angstroms a second. Again, this is in current control. So the percent power on your XTC is controlling your current. We're flowing 178.5 SCCM of argon, and we have a pressure of 8 millitorque. Again, this is in auto mode. Auto process mode. So at this point, when we switched over the cold cathode gauge tube for the chamber is shut off automatically before the argon gas turns on. And also the rotary table turns on automatically. And all you need to do is have the speed adjusted prior. You adjust the speed prior. And just to show that the table is moving since it's covered, I'm going to show you the rotation of the motor. Okay, when we get close to the finishing up here, I'll come back to the video and we'll show the completion of the auto process. Alright, we're getting pretty close to 1K angstroms. And what we'll see is that the shutter will close and the power will shut off. Shut it off. Finish depositing. We got 1K angstroms, and you can see that the SD light is back on. Gas flow is stopped. Pressure is less than 0. Cold cathode gauge turned back on. Waiting for the crossover. This is the pump out after the process. Again, it has to hit the crossover point. Cathode gauge turns off, and we're going to go to auto vent. Or go to vent. On your chamber gauge or venting. At this point we're waiting for the open door when lit indicator. Okay, so now we are at atmosphere, and go ahead and open the door. You notice the vent is still on, so you quickly switch to auto vent in order to shut it off. And you can remove your work at this point. So what I'm going to show you is how to run this in a semi-automatic mode, and we're going to just switch to auto pump. Switch this to the manual mode. Now you can see the inner light went out for the power supply, so we're going to be able to run the power. Since we're no longer in auto mode, we're not waiting for the set point. I just want to point out while we're here too, waiting for this to pump out, is we're in remote mode with the power supply. If you ever have the need to run it in full local mode, what you would need to do is, I have the cover taken off the back here. You'd have to remove this cable from the J3 connector. of your power supply and replace it with the jumper plug that came along with it, with the power supply. So you pull this off and place this on there. I'm going to leave this inside here. And that's to allow you to run the power supply in local mode. Okay. We're going to keep it in the remote mode, and we're going to run it from the front panel without being in auto process mode. A lot of times this will be used in order to set up your process, so you know what powers you want to be at, what pressures and so on. So we'll let this pump out and I'll come back and I'll show you how to run this in like a semi-automatic mode. Alright. Okay, we hit the crossover 150 and now the high vac valve is open. As you can see, we're in auto pump mode. And we have this switch set to manual. Go ahead and hit reset on our XCC2 deposition controller. We can hit 0 on the crystal monitor. You see there's no gas flowing at this point, and we're well below the 0 times 10 to minus 3 range. The range of the capacitive manometer is from 0 millitorr to 100 millitorr. At this point, you can go ahead and turn your chamber on. I'll leave it in. Turn your cold cathode gauge on manually by hitting the on button. And you can see we're somewhere in the upper 6 range. Just to show you that the cryo capacitive manometer works. Cold cathode gauge too works too. Is we'll just switch to cryo. Then I'll show you that the cryo cold cathode gauge tube is working. It's a little bit lower than the chamber, closer to the cryo pump. We'll go back to chamber. If for some reason or another the tube does not light, you can go ahead and hit the reset button. And it'll help light the cold cathode gauge tube. Alright, so at this point what we're going to do, even though we're not down to our crossover point, we're going to go ahead and turn the gas on. Say for instance you wanted to lower the pressure, you can go ahead and reduce the flow to say 150. And you can see that we're now at 6.9 millitorr. Now you can go ahead and hit the manual. Manual mode here. At this point you can use your either the arrow keys to increase the power. In this case I'm going to go ahead and put on the our handheld. I'm going to increase the power, and as you can see the plasma lit. You may want to bring that down a little bit. And we'll leave it at 6.5%. See that the plasma inside is lit. At this point we can go ahead and open the shutter. And you can see we're depositing at 4.6 angstrom per second. We're going to increase the power using the handheld. That's a little too high. So let's set it so that we're at 10 angstroms per second. And you can see again it's in current control mode. Again, you can either use the handheld or you can go ahead and use the key, up and down keys here. So we are doing 10 angstroms a second. Then you can go ahead and hit stop. Two ways, either using the button there, the button on the panel here, or just press down on this. And then go ahead and close your shutter. At this point you want to go ahead and close your gas. Okay, with the gas valve closed, you see the pressure decreases. You'll let it pump out a little while, and then you can go ahead and hit the auto vent. This will shut off control cathode gauge for you. And you'll see that the vent valve turns on. Okay, that's our demonstration of our semi-automatic mode for the Denton DV502A modified single source deposition system we have here.